Welcome to Healing Generations, a podcast creating a dialogue uplifting the importance of healing, strengthening, and supporting our communities, and that addresses the disparities and inequities in communities of color. Healing Generations is brought to you by the Healing Generations Institute, a collaborative initiative of the National Compadres Network and the Brotherhood of Elders. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on our new releases.
Well, good evening, good afternoon, blessings to everyone. And my name is Jerry Theo. I'm with the Healing Generations Institute, and we want to welcome you once again to this podcast that is entitled Healing Generations, in which we open up dialogue and a space for us to explore the beauty, the medicine, the traditions, values of all of our cultures, and at the same time explore the challenges. We recognize today that many of us are struggling with many things, but we also want to lift up the many blessings and the history and the culture that we bring that have helped our ancestors and helped all of us. And with that in mind, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge all the ancestors, to ask them to join us today, to guide us, to bless us. We want to acknowledge people of all ways, of all races, of all genders, of all our relations, and even the other relations of the sun, the moon, the earth, the wind, the two-legged, all those that live. That we live in a universe that is interconnected that way, and so we want to acknowledge and give thanks for this day. And as we begin. This podcast is a continuation of dialogues that we've had before, and we're very, very honored today to have Baba Arnold Perkins with us, who is an elder, a wisdom keeper, and an advocate for the community. He's been director of, I believe, public health for Alameda County, but really he's a community leader, and he's a community healer. And to me, he's a good friend of mine and brother. And I'm so honored and so blessed to, first of all, to be in relationship with Baba and to have learned from him, walked alongside of him, looked up to him. And as we continue to walk on this journey of how do we heal our people? How do we heal this universe? How do we continue to learn and then pass these teachings on to that next generation? So I want to just welcome you, Baba, today, and let you share some words just of welcome, first of all.
Thank you, my brother. I greatly appreciate and love you, as you know, and admire you. I want to ask the ancestors to sit with me, to guide me, to sit with you, to guide you, and to sit with and guide the audience that this will reach. My name is Arnold Perkins, but that's only something that's given to me. But who I am is I'm the great-great-grandson of Prince and Eleanor Perkins, the great-grandson of Charles and Charlotte, the grandson of William and Euphemia, the son of Arnold and Jesse, the friend and husband of Karen. We have 4 sons and 4 grandchildren. So that's who I am in the context of me introducing myself. So I'm not anything without the ancestors that blessed me. I was born in Miami, Florida. Interesting place. In 1941. So I'll be 79 years young.
Wow.
In
you look
September.
good. You look good for 79. We're going to have another podcast on how you stay looking good after 79 years in this world,
Yeah, no, I've seen so many different things as I've grown up. I'm set up in Florida, and I grew up in Miami as a young kid with a lot of strong values. I didn't grow up around white people. I grew up in an all-African community. And it was a community of sharing and caring. We would buy pigeon peas and rice together as a family. We'd go down to the banana boat that I knew Mr. Cyril Higgs would sail from Panama to Miami. We'd buy for the community. And it wasn't until I came to California that I realized that we operated in a selfish modality. We didn't come together as a village. And why did it happen in Miami? I think one reason it happened is because I was a part of a village. My ancestors came from the Bahama Islands and from Africa before that. So there's a whole notion of being together. And besides, I grew up in the segregated South. No niggers, no dogs, no Jews. And when the Jewish community bought up Miami, especially Miami Beach, it was no niggers and no dogs. And so you would have to go to the back door of whatever establishment it was. You would ride on the back of the Greyhound bus where it's hot. They didn't have air conditioning then. You just let the windows down. It was the old smelly diesel, so you'd get off the bus being smelly. You would go to the city bus. You'd go to the front of the bus. You would put in your fare. You'd get off of the bus. You'd go to the back door of the bus and get back on the bus. The front could be empty, totally empty, from the back door back, and you had to stand. You'd be packed like sardines, but you could not sit up there. The beach that I went to, Virginia Key Beach, which is now historical beach, it's called the Colored Beach. At Virginia Key Beach, and there was Cranston Park. Virginia Key Beach, you took a boat from downtown to get to, and you could look right across the water, probably a mile across, maybe less, and you see kids on Ferris wheels, merry-go-rounds, but we had nothing on our beach. The only thing you had is what you brought, blankets or food or whatever. So there was a determination to keep you in your place, and I think that's a holdover from what we are experiencing, today.
Let me ask you about just a little bit about that. As a child, do you remember how you felt about that? Did you, as you looked across that water and saw that other kids were at a Ferris wheel and had playthings and a whole different world? What was going on in your mind and in your heart, and what were you feeling? What were you thinking?
I had a mixture of feelings. One is, why couldn't we have that? Secondly, boy, they seemed like they're having a lot of fun. You could hear them yelling and screaming on the merry-go-round, and so it was hurtful and painful. But the flip side of that was I grew up with a lot of pride. That West Indian pride that no matter what they had, I was still a good person. Our people were like good people. Our people were strong people. And we had our own events. We had events every other, I guess twice a month. Marian Anderson, Roland Hayes, Paul Robeson, great authors. And so I was encompassed by love. And I was never raised that white people were the gold standard. Many people in California, well, if you could only meet the standards of white, I just didn't have that. I was taught that you must be the best you can be. So I was just blessed. I mean, I was blessed to have a community that was loving, encompassing, and was more of a village. So I grew up in a village. It was interesting when I first came to California. They said, "Let's sing the national anthem." So I stood up, and I said, "Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring." And they were saying, "Oh, say, can you see?" I had no idea. I thought to myself, y'all do not know the national anthem. You don't have no idea. And so I never knew the "Oh, say, can you see?" all that bomb blowing up stuff until I came to California. So it was a brand new awakening for me. It was a culture shock, actually. But the reason that we left the South was because they call you boy or girl. And so a couple of times my father got stopped just cause. And so the policeman said, "Yeah, boy, let me see a license." And so I said, "I don't have a license." And so he told my father, if like you don't shut him up, you're going to be in trouble. And so anytime they said boy or they said uncle, I said, "Well, you aren't my uncle." And so it was. They thought that maybe we should leave Florida before I get us killed. I mean, it was horrendous. We would go to the gas station. My colleague and friend Greg talked about going to the gas station, having to go to the bathroom. Bathroom would say men, women, and colored. If there wasn't a colored bathroom, you couldn't go. You just have to hold it or go in the bushes someplace. So it was a whole effort to demean who you are and what you were about. But that was counterbalanced by me going to all black schools. Our hospital was black. The stores that we shopped with and were African American. I saw Sugar Ray Robinson, Joe Louis in our hotel over town. So it was just a very encompassing situation with my family in Florida.
So what it seems like is that you were blessed by getting rooted in the sacredness of who you are and your culture, with people that loved you, saw you completely, blessed you up, and really held you, and that rooted you. Mm-hmm. That really rooted you. And then you came to California, and I guess that was a whole new awakening. Tell me a little bit about that California experience, because how old were you when you came to California?
I was 12, about to turn 13. We came in May of 1954, and I turned 13 in September. So that was an interesting experience coming to California. First of all, the trip across country was different. That was going to New Mexico, Texas, etc. And when I got to California, the young men thought that they would test me in fighting for some reason. And so when they saw that didn't work, then I had the name all throughout junior high and high school as Gator.
Gator?
Gator, yeah, they called me Gator because I was from Florida and I was tough. I'd fight. I mean, I'd fight. And I used to stutter real bad. I couldn't talk, but I could kick you, and we'll leave it. And so I fought a lot. I fought a lot, and I knew that I was intelligent, but I stuttered, and so one thought that I wasn't that sharp, and then I touch him up real good, and I do well in school. So it was very interesting. So coming here was just being around folk that in the South you knew where you stood. It's real clear. It's real clear. I mean, in the South, for example, growing up, if a white person would come, you'd have to get off of the sidewalk and walk in the street until they passed, and then you get back on the sidewalk. And coming to California, it was different. But I had a girlfriend who was fair-skinned, and so we was riding down Telegraph Avenue. I live in Oakland, California, and the police stopped me. And they harassed me because they thought I had a white woman in the car. And that was very different for me to be treated that way. In Miami growing up, we had colored cops in like colored town. So it was like living, as I said, in a village where people understood each other, they worked together. My father built a number of houses. He never built a house by himself. And so that feeling of rootedness, the feeling of ancestors, the feeling of healing was always a part of my life.
You've lived lived a long life, and so you've experienced some things, and obviously you've lived through the early civil rights movements, and I share that I was actually in Compton and Watts when the riots happened there, and in the 60s, and then Rodney King. And so you've been through a whole number of struggles. Can you share a little bit about your experience in this journey, because it's been a long journey. We're in a similar spot again in terms of trying to advocate for justice and rights. But can you talk a little bit about your experience in this journey of civil rights?
Yeah, so I call them uprisings. Uprisings because we have not been treated justly. Black and brown people have not been treated justly in this country, and so we've had to raise up. So I was a part of, when I got out of service, I was in the Navy. I went to the Navy. And when I got out of the Navy, I went to Merritt College. And at Merritt College was when the Panthers were forming. And I knew Bobby Seale and Huey Newton, growing up, going to college with them. And so they formed the Panthers, and I joined SNCC. I was in Atlanta for a part of a summer. And what we were fighting for, the same thing that we're fighting for now, is the right to be a whole human being, to be treated as a whole human being, because clearly we are whole human beings. We had the auto row strikes in San Francisco where we would go into a car dealership and sit in. The Palace Hotel, which is one of the finer hotels in San Francisco, we would sit in, and we would stop everything. And we would march. It'd be thousands. When the Vietnam War was going on, we used to march from the UC Berkeley campus down to the Naval Supply Center. It'd be 100,000 people, as far as the eye could see. We would march, and so there was a confluence of. It's interesting. There was a confluence of the Vietnam War and the Civil Rights Movement. Right now, there's a confluence of COVID-19 and racism 2020. And I'm going to get back to that because I think that's an important piece. So I've been involved and engaged on one level or another ever since I was born. My father was a Garveyite, Marcus Garvey, who felt that we should have for us, by us, that we should be building our own nation so that we don't have to be put in the humiliating position of begging someone to eat at their lunch counter or to go to school with them or whatever. The other thing about that period is that when integration happened, there was almost a dissolution of our community because there was this plight to be like white people. We thought that they had everything that we needed, and we found out that many of our businesses ended up going out of business as we integrated. So I'm not so sure that integration was beneficial for African American people. We didn't get the same level of education because if someone doesn't care about you, they don't educate you the way they do if they care about you. And so that was another struggle that we had. I was involved in the Berkeley free speech movement. I was teaching like 4 blocks from the campus. So my students took part in the American Revolution during that period of time where we had troops in Berkeley. You had to pass through a line of National Guard to get up to campus or to get to work. So I've seen this movie before. In terms of COVID-19 and racism 2020, I witnessed folk. I knew the first person who died here in Oakland, California. It was one of my colleagues' wife. And I know that COVID will take you out.
Yeah.
I also know that that COVID, they're seeking a cure, are desperately seeking a cure for COVID. But racism has been around long before I was born, and we have not seemed to be seeking a cure for racism. One of the things I think during this period of time is I've seen this movie about racism and what's being proposed and all of that so many times, and the only thing that changes is the color of the skin. It seems to be black and brown. And I don't think that we're going to solve this until white Americans have a conversation with themselves about what does it mean to be white. I mean, I think there's a dissonance. I think they're raised to think that they are superior. At the same time, they know that they aren't. They know there's some pretty and bright people of color. So it creates this dissonance. And very rarely do they have to think about what does it mean to be white. Very rarely. And now we're at a point where they have to question, what does it mean? I think about being an African person all the time. Every time I go out, my life is at danger every time I go out in the street. You know, and if I'm driving by a policeman or even a policeman pulls out, my heartbeat goes. This morning I saw on television this little kid who was playing basketball. I think he was 10 or 11. He's playing basketball, and he saw a police car coming by, and he hid until the car went by. And I felt sorry, and it was, I guess this went viral. So I think we're at a point in time where there has to be some very serious conversations within the European American community about what does it mean? Why is it that white males are so dangerous? And what do I mean by that? Why are they dangerous? Well, if you look at who gets killed by the police, it's just us. If you look at who does the mass murders, you know, if you look at who does the lynchings, I mean, we've had 2 young African American men hung here in Southern California, 60 miles apart, and I heard there might be as many as 6 being hung. And so we're, on one hand, we're at a time when youngsters are fed up with this, what's going on, black, white, red, brown, yellow, are fed up with what's going on. And I'm just hoping, I won't use that word, I'm determined to continue not to get bogged down in this mess or this morass that we have going on, and to do my best to work with young people, because my interest is not so much what happens now, it's what happens 7 generations. I'm interested in, I'm trying to prepare a world for my grandchildren's grandchildren. And I'd like to think that we will at least be on a better course. But it's been really difficult for me seeing this movie over and over and over and over again, and not to be just furious, not to be just wanting to tear stuff up. And sometimes inside I feel like, I just want to tear this whole thing up. But I recognize that doesn't serve any of us if we're tearing stuff up.
Well, as you mentioned that about that little boy, I remember many times growing up in Compton, and the cops would come by and we run. We run. We, if we're playing ball, we run the backyard or run someplace else. And I've seen many times where kids instinctively run, and then the cops follow them, right? And then they catch up with them, and then they throw them on the ground, and they say, "Why are you stopping? What are you running for? You must have done something wrong." No, it's just this instinctual feeling like, you're gonna get us, and so there's this impending fear, and what I think about, you work in public health. What is the health implications of that, carrying that fear all the time, carrying that sense that the world and the systems look at you in a deficit way, or don't even look at you with any kind of worthiness? I mean, you can tell when someone doesn't like you, doesn't want you, doesn't appreciate you. And what does that do to one's spirit, to their physical health, emotional health, mental health? Can you speak a little bit to that?
Sure. So if you were to take a plant and put a plant under stress, you watch it wilt. And over a period of time, it just wilts and wilts until it dies. And so people are, African descent people, Latinos, are under constant stress. I mean, just constant stress. Within our body, we have cortisol, and cortisol is a hormone that either is fight or flight. And we are both. We're both flight and fight at the same time because our cortisol is never off. It's always on. And so if you have a plant, let's say you take a healthy plant and you put it under a lot of pressure, that plant will wither over time. And I think I mentioned COVID-19 before will kill you short period of time. Racism kills you over time. It kills the body in terms of diabetes, in terms of asthma, in terms of heart disease, in terms of a propensity for cancer. It kills the spirit. Some people just give up and they're hurting so much until they hurt other people. So we say hurt people, hurt people. Some people just totally become totally despondent and just totally reckless and will hurt anything in sight. And so there's a lot of stress that people living in communities of color are under. We often live in a toxic community, and toxic means the air is foul. Let's take West Oakland. We have all the ships down there, all the trucks down there. The educational institutions do not provide you with the top rate teachers. I live in Oakland, as I've said, and Piedmont is a part of Oakland, but they separate, call themselves a city. The system works for them the way it was designed. The system works for us the way it was designed. So the system for them is probably 99.9% of them will go on for higher education. And just 2 miles away at Oakland High School, it's not even 2 miles away, you'd be lucky if you got 40% rate of graduation. So both systems are working. One system is working because it was designed to work, because people make sure it works. Another system works to fail us. Because, and how do they fail us? They fail us in so many different ways. They fail us in our living conditions. They fail us in going to medical facilities. They fail us in the food and the stores that they have in our community. And if you go just blocks away, they don't have the same type of stores. And so this is constantly creates pressure on the community. COVID, for example, COVID now is, we'll lose 40% of the African-owned businesses because of COVID. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
If you make under $39,000 a year, 41% will never be reemployed. Whereas if you make $100,000 a year, only 13% won't be reemployed. And so the pressure is here, and no matter what you do, you try and achieve as much as you can, but it doesn't matter. What matters in this country is the color of your skin.
Yeah.
And the darker you are, the more difficulty you have. If you are a dark Latino, doesn't matter. You can be a dark African, you can be a dark whatever it is, a dark Chinese, the Uyghurs. You know, there's something about this racism that's inbred in many of our systems that we have to constantly work to rid ourselves of. It's clearly a disease. What we're experiencing is a disease. The cops are afraid of us because of our color, and we're afraid of them because we know they will kill us. And so we're locked into this knot. They're scared to death, and that's why they beat the crap out of us, because they're scared of us. And then we are fearful of them because they will beat the crap out of us for no reason, just cause. So these are some of the things that we're struggling with as a society.
Yeah. I mean, and you mentioned the system because I think, now with COVID, we're recognizing that Black and brown populations are dying and getting sick at a higher rate than other populations. We're the workers, we're the people on the ground. But additionally, historically, we have not had the health benefits. So we have diabetes and high blood pressure and all those things that are, predetermined factors for higher risk for COVID.
That's right.
So now we are getting hit by it at a much, and all that is due to racism. We don't have the same health services and the same provisions. In addition, we talked about, how a little boy feels, feeling like they're not worth it. The educational system really does not lift up our spirits of who we are as a people. And those are protective factors. If you feel honored, if you feel sacred, if you feel your people have contributed in a good way and are needed in order for society to survive, then that builds resiliency factors. But if you feel you can get thrown away, you can get locked up, you can get deported, you can get killed, and it's really not going to affect people too much unless somebody takes a video of it.
Right.
Then what ends up happening is that self-worth begins to go down. It begins to deteriorate. And we're a little bit older, and we carry a lot of those wounds from many, many years. That's why it triggers us, So there's a lot of work to do. And I want to ask you two more questions. One question is, what has helped you, Baba? What has helped you? Because you've been through a lot. You haven't shared it all. You're so gracious that you only share, so much of it. But I know you've been through a lot. If you've lived all these years in this society, you've been through a lot. What has helped you to make it? What has helped you to not be bitter? Because you're a beautiful man. You're a beautiful elder. You bring light when you walk in. How did you do that? What do you do that continues to bring that spirit? What has helped you?
I know that basically as human beings, we are good people down under, and we cover our goodness with all of this defensiveness. And so if I were to extend my hand away from my body in front of my face as far as I can, that is what a defense looks like. I'm defending my face, but if I allow my arms to come in and fold, then I'm vulnerable. That's the true me. And I think that we spend a lot of time defending, and we need to spend a lot of time loving. And that sounds so corny, but it's so true. I have to spend time with the maestros of the world. That gives me inspiration, watching how you walk about the world, watching how Mario, watching Oscar, watching how Hector, watching you walk about the world, watching Brother Greg walk about the world. That gives me inspiration because I know that I'm not in this situation by myself. That there are a group of us who are committed to making the world a better place. And I think that's the best thing we could do it can't always be about me. I feel better when it's about you because I know that sharing is huge. I mean, having the ability to share with someone, whatever it is, whether it's a conversation, whether it's food, whether it's a gift, it just gives me a great feeling. And so I want to be one that shares, and that's my walkabout. And then I have other mentors in my life, older mentors and younger mentors. My greatest mentor is a dead join the ancestors 23-year-old Lee Franklin. I mean, he went through leukemia. His mouth peeled off inside. He never complained. And so I think about Lee in my most tough times. I think about my father. I was a father's boy. My father was an incredible man. And he would always say different things. I used to want to choke him. he said, son, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. And I've made many Everests. I've created mountains so taller than Everest could ever be. And when I stop and face it, I step over him. The other thing he would say, boy, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And he said, stand. And so one of my favorite songs is by Donnie McCorkin. It's called Stand. And it's on YouTube. And that song just inspired. That song brings me to tears because you stand in spite of what's going on. You stand. And so that's the message that I've been taught by you and by other people. Arnold Perkins, stand. Just stand. So that's I'm inspired by that. I'm inspired by our youngsters and the fact that they're putting their butts on the line. They're putting their lives on the line to stand. And so the important thing is to stand for what you believe and stand for what's right. You know, I was watching the Rodney King piece last night, and the brother was in his house, and he was watching TV. He didn't live far away. He had his sister bring him to the guy's truck that was being beaten, put the guys in the truck, and drove the guy to the hospital. That's what I call stand. Other people didn't stand. He stood. And so those are my heroes. Those are my examples. I just want to stand.
Well, Baba, you've been standing in this role for a long time, and because of your leadership, you know, there's people that can come around you. But I'm touched by what you said, because you have, and I guess we all have attempted to build that village again. And we have built that brotherhood again, you know, amongst us. And, you know, and you mentioned all the brothers and the babas and the maestros and all of that. But we also recognize that we could not do none of this without the ones that really lead, which are the women. You know, our partners, you know, Karen, you know, Susie. I mean, there's no way that, you know, because really it's the women that really lead and push us to stand. Sometimes we want to sit down and say, get your ass up, you know? Get up and do something. You know, I mean, they're the ones, and you see a lot of these marches right now, the women are up there, the young women, and, you know, and so, you know, we want to recognize that, you know, that the sense of we need everybody, everybody to stand, and then the other part is kneel when we need to kneel, because we need those prayers too. We need those ancestors' prayers. So let me just ask you this final question, and that is, what advice? You mentioned 7 generations. What advice would you give to these next generations? Because I think that, you know, you were blessed. I was blessed to live with some elders. Grandmas had blessed us, maybe some grandpas. You know, a lot of this generation doesn't have the elders. They don't, you know, they were taken out a long time ago. They were systematically, you know, deported or incarcerated or wounded along the way. So now part of the result of racism is that many of our young people don't have elders, and the elders that are in the community sometimes are wounded. So they need to hear. So what is that advice you would give this next generation as we move again to stand for justice? What would you tell them?
I would tell them to seek mentors that are like them, mentors that are different from them, mentors that range from someone who's a carpenter and have their skills every day, someone who might be a teacher, someone who might be a physicist, but expand who you are and don't be afraid to ask questions. Be curious. Not nosy, but curious. If there's something that you don't understand, ask about it, learn about it. Don't be shy. I would ask them to be determined. Don't quit. Never allow anyone to cause you to quit. Never, never, never quit. If you're doing something foolish, of course, quit. But I mean, if you're doing the right thing, if you're doing the right thing, don't quit. See it through. And one of the things that I encourage young people when I'm sitting with them, I'll take out a pencil and a paper, and I ask them, how does a chicken get out of an egg? And they often will search around for the answer. And I said, what does it have on its body that would cause it to break out of an egg? And said, well, eyes, no, no, a beak. A beak. So I'll take the pen on the paper and peck. peck, and sometimes I peck, 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 peck. Sometimes I peck, peck, peck. Your dreams die if you don't peck at them. If you just quit pecking, your dreams die. And too often, I want to blame you for my dreams dying. It's just stick to it. It's just stand for what you believe, and stand for the people who are around you, and just keep pecking. Just keep pecking. And the other thing is, observe drips of water over time. There wear holes in the hardest surface. And we if we flow like water carves stuff out, but it's so soft and so beautiful. Water has beautiful icicles. It's all water. And if we flow like water, if we're fluid, then we move through life with grace. Does water have hard times? Yes, sometimes it comes up against hard walls, but over time it flows over those walls. So I just want us to keep pecking, keep being fluid, keep loving, keep living, keep being curious, keep sharing. All of these things make us who we are, and spend time in nature. Nature does not lie to you. I'm a gardener. I raise orchids, and I raise fruit and vegetables. The soil does not lie. If I take care of the soil, it takes care of me. And what we're about, Maestro, we're about the fact that at this time, we're about plowing the fields, making the soil fertile, carefully planting the seeds so that one seed can grow a forest. And so I don't have to plant 1,000 seeds. I could plant a seed. And if I nurture that seed will grow a forest because it will create other seeds. So I want to make sure that my seed is a good seed. I want to make sure that I've tilled the soil completely, that I've fertilized it. And then I want to look to Father Son to bless Mother Earth, which then creates a brand new forest. And so I've been blessed by the sunshine of the National Compadres Network, by the Brother of Elders, by many of my friends to at times have light in me, and also at times to have earth in me. And from that comes the seed of life and the seed of progress and the seed of freedom.
Bob Arnold, I really want to just thank you for who you are. And, you mentioned planting seeds. You've planted many seeds, because as I travel all across this country, your name gets lifted up by so many. You have planted seeds. You have tilled that soil. You have stood up. You have spoken truth. You have shared teachings. And you have been on this path for many, many years. And so the seeds that you planted are already blossoming. And as part of the Brotherhood of Elders, you have really helped cultivate that too. And our relationship, between National Compadres Network and Brotherhood of Elders, we're now planting seeds together. We're planting those seeds together. And we're still learning along the path as well. And as we begin this podcast, we call to the ancestors, and we must call to them again. Because when we get in this struggle and it gets tough and we don't know what to do, what that means is we need to maybe get on our knees and call to the ancestors and ask the spirits to come in, because they'll be there to guide us again. We're on this journey. We thank you all that have listened today, and we invite you, to share your comments, to give us some feedback, and to share this podcast with other people. That may be of interest to it. We're on this journey to try to heal generations. At the same time, we're in present day, fighting for justice and respect and honor for all. So we thank you very much for being with us today. Again, thank Baba Perkins, and we hope that you continue listening. We release these every Tuesday, so just keep listening, keep sharing, and keep healing. Thank you.
For more information about Healing Generations and the Healing Generations Institute, visit nationalcompadresnetwork.org And be sure to subscribe to stay up to date with our new releases.